Well.
Yes, the Prime Minister has sat down with our political editor, Christopher Hope, live in Rio de Janeiro. Let's listen in.
Minister, your response to the claims by Russia that 6 American-made missiles be fired into Russia today, and what will the UK do? Will we allow our UK-made missiles to also be fired by Ukraine to Russia?
So far as the UK is concerned, I've been very clear over a long period that we must support Ukraine. Putin cannot be allowed to win this war. It's now in day 1,000, that's 1,000 days of aggression, and therefore I've been doubling down here at the G20 in saying we must give Ukraine the support that Ukraine needs for as long as it needs, put Ukraine in the best possible position. So that is my consistent approach. I will not comment on operational matters, and I'll tell you for why, because Putin would be the winner if I did so, and it would undermine Ukraine, and I'm not prepared to do that.
Do you worry we're risking going towards World War III?
The quickest and easiest way to resolve this conflict is for Russia to stop. That could be done today, day 1,000 of aggression. And so in terms of what needs to happen, that's clearly the quickest and easiest way to end this deadly conflict. But, you know, as long as it goes on, we will be supporting Ukraine. It matters hugely for Ukraine's sovereignty, but it matters for us as well. It impacts every single person in the United Kingdom, which is why I've taken such a strong stand.
We're in Rio de Janeiro at the G20. We're back home. Farmers are very, very cross about your plans on inheritance tax. Do you understand why they're so cross?
Well, look, I do understand concerns, and I want to support our farmers. It's extremely important that we do so. That's why in the budget we invested £5 billion over the next 2 years in farming on food sustainability. That's hugely important for farmers. An additional amount of money for flooding, which impacts them, and on disease outbreak. On this question of inheritance tax, which is at the heart of this concern, what I point out is that for a typical case where parents want to pass on a farm to one of their children, which would be a very typical family farm situation, then by the time the inheritance tax thresholds are all in place, in a typical case, it'd be £3 million. And that means for the vast majority of farms will be unaffected at all by this.
Are they making a fuss about nothing then?
But it's very important for me to keep making the case that it's only farms and assets over £3 million in a typical case of parents wanting to pass on to their children. And therefore, for that reason, I'm confident that the vast majority of farms will not be affected. But look, I understand concerns. We must have discussions. The Minister was in discussions yesterday with the farmers, and we'll continue to do so.
So will you tweak
the
threshold, or will you allow over 80s not to be hit by it because they can't plan for their inheritance?
Well, because the threshold is high, the vast majority are unaffected. The other thing I would say is this. I mean, I grew up in a rural area. I know firsthand that rural areas, farming communities, they do need the investment that we put in the budget into their hospitals, into their schools, into housing near where they are so their families can live. And therefore, the budget itself was absolutely focused on those things. But the threshold at £3 million is very high. The vast majority will be unaffected. And we need to keep making that case because where there's concern, I think the right thing to do is to meet that concern and talk it through.
Is your party too urban? That's what Baroness Bailye says. She's the Countryside Alliance president. That you don't really get the countryside. When were you last on a farm, for example?
My first job was on a farm, Jay. I grew up in the countryside. All of my entire family live in the countryside. We're a rural family. I'm the only one that lives in a city. I do get it, and that's why I'm able to say with confidence that that threshold for a typical case at £3 million is a very high threshold. And therefore the vast majority of farms will be unaffected. But I also do know that it matters to rural communities that we are investing in their NHS. They rely on it just as much as anybody in a town or city. It matters that their schools are fit for their children, and it matters hugely that there's enough housing for them and their families that's affordable in rural areas. They're central concern.
On TV News, we have a Clive Bailye, his son Henry. Henry's 12. He's disappointed and sad that you'll be taking away farming from his generation. He says he can't maybe not be a farmer in the future. Why are you taking away Henry's dreams?
Well, I don't know the details of Henry's case. I don't know what the farm in that particular case is worth. But clearly, if it's under, assuming it's a mum and dad passing on to Henry, then that would be the £3 million threshold. So that would mean it's unaffected. But I don't know the details of the particular case.
Using the internet without a VPN is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. We want to help protect you. This video's sponsor, Private Internet Access, is the VPN to help keep you safe. Now you might be asking, what is a VPN? Well, a virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and safeguards your internet connection through an encrypted tunnel. This way, it shields your digital life from the eyes of those that are looking to exploit your private information. Whenever you connect to the internet on a public Wi-Fi network, such as at airports, coffee shops, friends' houses, or even in your own home, your data is at risk of being stolen. Hackers that are connected to the same Wi-Fi network have the ability to steal your personal data with ease. T-Mobile reached a settlement this year with the US Federal Communications Commission after they suffered data breaches in 2021, 22, and 23. In 2023 alone, over 37 million customers' data was exposed. And it's not just hackers to be concerned about. Information can be censored. When Canada passed their C-18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news content that you love. Private Internet Access is available for all platforms: Windows, macOS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one Private Internet Access subscription to protect an unlimited number of devices at the same time. Plus, we've got a huge GB News discount. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get 83% off PIA. That is under £2 a month, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free. There's also a 30-day money-back guarantee. So head to piavpn.com/GB News to start protecting yourself digitally today.
Just moving on to freedom of speech. You said in 2013 when you DPP, there's a lot of stuff out there on social media. It's highly offensive. It's put down on a spontaneous basis pretty quickly. And your view then as DPP was those remarks don't need to be prosecuted. So why are the police going after people who tweet? It seems a bit mad given the scale of crimes and the pressure on policing.
Well, I think it's for the police really to deal with their operational matters. Sometimes it is important. We had very serious issues of people inciting violence when we had that terrible disorder over the summer. But look, by and large, I think that without telling the police what to do, they should concentrate on what matters most to the communities that they're policing.
And that's keeping the streets safe. I mean, jail terms for people who tweet are often more than those who have committed violence against people. How is that right?
Well, I won't get into the ins and outs of the sentencing, but we're very clear that one of our missions in government is to keep our streets safe. What I mean by that is dealing with antisocial behaviour. I mean, putting those extra police officers on the streets in the town centres so people can see them, and I'm led by what I'm absolutely sure our communities most want.
Yeah. It's boiling hot in Rio. It's freezing cold in the UK. The first real test, I think, of your winter fuel allowance policy. What do you say to pensioners who can't keep warm? I mean, and not your fault in the hot climate, but they are cold, and they're colder because of your policies.
Well, any pensioner that's entitled to pension credit should obviously get that credit. That is then on top of getting the payment itself for winter fuel allowance. So we've taken that targeted approach. Obviously, what we've done in the budget is to stabilise the economy. That means that we are absolutely committed to the triple lock. That means that pensions will go up by about £450, £460
But do you feel for them?
next year.
What do you say to them directly?
But, I think that the most important thing for pensioners, for me to emphasise that by taking the tough choices we did, we've stabilised the economy. That means that the triple lock will ensure that they're better off. And I would also point out that under the last government, when they lost control of the economy, inflation went through the roof. I spoke to many pensioners about the problems going shopping. We cannot allow that to be inflicted on pensioners ever again. I'm not prepared to do so.
So Keir Starmer, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that was our very own Christopher Hope interviewing the Prime Minister in a wide-ranging interview, and we'll hear more from Chopper later on.